Hello, and welcome to Guys Dealings with Feelings, a podcast focused on men's health and emotional awareness. Jason, a licensed therapist with over 18 years of experience, and I being profoundly affected by the death of my son. We share grounded conversations and practical insights to help men navigate modern life with clarity and intention. Today's episode is going to be focusing on resentment, the emotion that builds when you don't speak up. And good morning, Jason.
What's up, man?
Before I dive headfirst into resentment, I think this is one that I was pretty well practiced in my previous lives. Um,
Yeah,
I think once I figured out what I was doing, I I call it selfish. I don't know that it in the definition that we all jump to when thinking selfishness, think selfish, but resentment fucks me up. If I'm resentful, it's fucking me in my relationship. We're going to dive into this, but
yeah,
and it doesn't always show up at once. It's something that's going to build slowly. It starts small. It's something we don't say or we let something slide and we tell yourself, that's not that big of a deal. But then it begins to stack and it's not just frustrating, but we're carrying this heavy load and it's towards people who don't even know what's going on, again, because we didn't speak up. So, breaking it down today, we're going to talk about where it comes from, why it builds, and how it quietly damages relationships, mindsets, etc. if we don't deal with it. And my in my life, I just figured out, and it's always, this is a relationship thing, and it can happen with intimate relationships or business relationships or friendship relationships because it's dealing with other human beings. And what it actually, if you're just defining it, it's simply it's unexpressed frustration over time. And it isn't just anger, especially in the moment. So you said something that pissed me off. Okay, well that's a thing. But if I say something right there, something we talk about in all our shows, the energy kind of gets to do its thing, right? It processes out. Now, how I say it, delivery, what happens after that, obviously part of the conversation. But if I just say, hey, that upsets me when you say that.
yeah, yeah,
I don't even tell you, please don't say it. I don't even instruct you. I just let you know how I feel when you do. When I don't say those things, then I just put a little piece of anger inside me and another little piece of, and it's coming, so it's unspoken
stacks.
expect. Yeah. And what it is that I have an expectation of our relationship and how you, I guess, how you'll behave in our relationship. And when you don't, and and you don't even know this is happening, all this shit's in my head. So I've set up these rules for you. And then when you break those rules, I get pissed off about it. But I don't say anything. And so it just adds up and adds up and adds up.
Yeah,
So lack of boundaries, avoided conversations, it's what happens when we don't address things as they happen. And I think it's all too common for all of us, and we'll get into how it starts and builds, but it's too easy to do. I know that it's especially with all the other shit we're dealing with. You had a long day at work, you come home and your wife does the thing, and you're like, God damn, I've dealt with everything at work already. I don't want to fight now, and so you just let shit slide, and then it's an excuse every time like that. So, um, why is it just that we're not processing in time, real time, like you and I often talk about? If we can't stay present and can't let the energy flow through us, whatever the energy is, high, low, whatever, then it just stays, right? And if it stays, then it has to be just like the trauma. If I don't deal with the trauma, it's coming out probably at a very inopportune time, but it's coming out. Is that what we're dealing with? Resentment is just another piece of that. And I know resentment's a blanket for a lot of
yeah,
emotions, hurt feelings, anger, whatever.
yeah. It's a there's a mechanical way to talk about it, actually. Um,
Okay.
so when we say trauma again, right? Let me let's just make sure we're clear, and right. So, uh, trauma. the word isn't referring to the things that are happening to us. I mean, it is, but it's referring to what's happening to the body and the psyche. So, but significantly, what's happening to the body as a result of all the pressure that we experience during life, and there aren't any exceptions to that. Okay, that's a common misconception about trauma. We think about things that happen to people. Uh, it's not. That word is referring to things that happen to the body as a result of the pressures of being on the planet, and and then all the relational wounds that we have, right? So there are two kind of distinct things that are coming to my mind right now that occur because of that pressure and how painful it is for us, right? And how we're programmed to express things and not express things, right? Um, so we are taught to lie, to not express really, and to not be honest about what we're experiencing, and to minimize and or exaggerate. And we've just been uh, and so one of the things that happens is we're programmed around different kinds of expression and what's okay to express and what's not okay to express, right? So it's one thing that's happening. And and then the pressure is so intense that essentially just all our awareness like leaves the body. And so we don't actually know what it is we want to express or what we need to express because we're not actually super aware of what we're feeling, right? And so, it's partially a lack of awareness, and then we're taught really distorted ways of relating to certain energies and feelings, right? Um, but mechanically, it is the way it operates for us is when we're agitated, we keep it a secret and we don't express when we want something to be different. And then so then at the heart of it, again, it's a lack of a relationship with fear and how that, inhibits our speaking up, really, just
And
expressing what we're feeling.
yeah, and to clarify, just knowing Jason, when he says fear, that's gonna be anything that trickles down from fear, and fear being the basis of all the other, I don't wanna say all the negative emotions, but I think it is all the negative emotions. Fear is really the one that is
You could,
underlying, whereas
yeah,
happiness and on the other side, love is probably the
yeah.
base
It's
of
like
the
I
of
think
all
of
the
fear
happy
as
ones.
okay. It's a lack of coherence. It's a false evidence appearing real. I like that. Um, I like thinking about it in that way, because resentment is when I believe the idea that somebody else is responsible for what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and I just wanna clarify, somebody hadn't heard, it could be there's all kinds of things, scare, all these things that go with fear. It doesn't have to be, so many times a man hears fear and they do, "I don't get scared," and it's, "Yeah, you do, buddy, we all do," and, we just hadn't learned how to do it. So, Jay's touched on their emotional recognition. We've touched on that in the past. I encourage you to check that out. Emotional recognition is the basis of everything we talk about here. You have to understand what it is that's going on, or you sure as hell can't address it. Uh, Jason talked about trauma. Trauma is anything that overwhelms the nervous system.
Which is
That is
all
a
of life.
which is all of life. It's a subjective deal. Um, but to Jason's point, I think we're kind of being waterboarded in the background all the time with things that are overwhelming our nervous system. These things are uh, just how,
Yeah.
and then how we are we reacting or responding. And it comes down to your emotional recognition. So all of that piles into this. And, again, all this starts off when you say yes when you want to say no, letting something go to keep the peace, assuming one knows what your expectations of them are, well, this is how I look at my life. I just expect you would do the same. And it's, it starts in silence and not even a big deal. It's little things. Like it's these little pellets that just pile
Yeah.
up into this big pile of shit,
We don't
really.
even notice that we're keeping things inside that we could just express, like, it's we don't even notice it, you know?
I, I think a good analogy is just if you've ever just decided that you're going to use a drawer to put your stuff in. Let me just go put all the loose stuff in here. The
Yeah,
stuff we
yeah,
really don't want to deal with right now. And that drawer is
yeah,
always one
yeah,
of the fullest, most fucked up drawers in the house.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
a microcosm of what we're doing with our lives and our
yeah,
emotions. That
yeah,
drawer,
yeah,
the
yeah.
junk drawer, is is how we deal with life.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not going to deal with that right now, and we think I can
yeah,
just put it in this drawer
yeah,
and it gets magic because it doesn't
and it
go
goes
away. I don't want it
away,
to
you
go
know?
away. But I want it
Yeah,
to get processed without
yeah.
actually having to process it. And so
You're you bring up, um so you and I like, we're sitting right here, and the year says 2026, right? But we have written information from human beings for thousands of years, right? And for all those years, you know, we have had to deal with a past, right? And we have looked really deeply into what the past actually represents. Like, why do we carry these things around with us that we, right? What is all this baggage that we carry around? Why do we have these habits of doing that, you know? And that, this topic of the past and how we carry things around and don't express things and let things go, uh, we've been talking about it for thousands of years as human beings. And we've known for a very long time that it is related to the way our nervous system operates and the way our body processes energy. So the past actually represents undigested life energy, is really what it reflects, right? It's what hasn't been processed because it was too much, it was too much energetically, was too much intellectually, it required too much to really understand it. There wasn't enough living, there wasn't enough capacity, there was just right, and so, we're continually getting hurt, and, you we don't have the capacity to understand that the grown-ups around us are in the same
doing the exact same thing.
hostile environment with bodies and nervous systems that are overwhelmed, and a lack of context for being alive and what that means and what a past is, uh and so, you know, what we're what we're coming to sort of tie together in the modern world with the somatic language and the trauma language, which is just old information recycled and presented in a new way, in a modern way. So we're coming to understand that the past is like, you imagine a dam, you know? The past is all the water sitting on the other side of the dam. And when our nervous systems are in a regularly sympathetically activated state, a survival state, it really is acting like a dam for the past, for energy, because the past represents painful energy, like difficult experiences. Does that make sense? And
Mhm.
we weren't able to process it at the time. And so it actually means we start to relate to all difficult energy with like an aversion to it. We don't want to look at any of it, you know? None of this is conscious or anything, you know? uh, none of it's conscious. And, so what seems to happen, and what this is what human beings have been doing for thousands of years, man, forever. When we sit down and we do things that are targeting the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, things like meditation and mindfulness and whatever you want to call it, whatever name we use, that seems to start rewiring our damn whole system. And it's interesting because what happens when we do that and our nervous system starts to rebalance and the body starts to calm down, it like that it starts to let the water through the dam naturally. You don't even have to know much about it's yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Because the past is always affecting us. We don't realize it. There's always water leaking through, like we're not really able to keep it back.
Well, it makes us who we are. Our perspective is built on it. Our beliefs are built on it. It's the
Yes.
way we see the world. So who
Yeah.
we are, our conscious selves, are built off of the past. So
Yes.
we
And
are
so
a
what happens
accumulation of that.
you got it. And that's we've known that forever as human beings. And what happens when we start to readjust the nervous system by doing certain things as the system starts to be able to integrate the past and process the past, it actually changes our whole story because what's in that water is a lot of toxic material, misunderstanding, assumptions, very limited ideas, right? And so actually what happens is we let that water in, which is healing. It starts to heal our stories, our narratives. It starts to wash away the whole damn story of our life, and it starts to wash away us being a victim. It starts to wash away there being people to hate and to carry all this anger. It doesn't wash away what happened to us. It just washes away the idea that it's an accident.
Well, and to your point of how it doesn't wash away what's happened to us, and I think, losing Joel, my
Yeah,
son, is a good example. But it can sure as hell change your perspective on it.
that's
And
my
that is
point.
such a massive shift. If you're listening and dealing with some hard shit, when you can get to this point where your perspective is altered, it is overwhelmingly healing. You walk around with, again, lack of a better way to define it, is victim mentality, and I think in
It
the
feels
world
that
of
way.
well, and in the world of rules, I could be considered definitely the victim's family, if not a victim as the father. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's like we're
there's
victimized. It's like we
and you are
are
a victim,
being
yes,
victimized by this environment, by how hard it is, by how heavy and God, yes,
but
this
you don't
experience is not for the
live
faint of heart.
right, but you can't live as if you are the victim. So, as trauma is the definition of trauma is how the nervous system is overwhelmed, not the death of the child. So too is the way that we're processing this. We can be the victim of abuse or somebody dying or et cetera. We can be the victim, but that cannot define who we are as a person. That was a
Yeah.
incident. This is how we are. So are those beliefs, all that shit that I was saying builds up and creates our existence. To your point, when the water begins to come out, we get to see, oh, well, that shouldn't be shaping my existence. That shouldn't be telling me what I feel right now
Well, and more specifically, what starts to happen is it starts to wash away the idea that the pain is personal.
or permanent.
But yeah, amen to that. But you see, when we have
No, I
this,
get it.
when our nervous systems are chronically in a sympathetically activated state, survival mode, it creates a sense that we're separate from everything in the whole world, that we're this little separate island running, walking, and, and, and that is excruciatingly painful for us. It's devastating. It's not something that we're actually super well, we're not generally familiar with it that much at all as a whole, right? And, uh, and so because we feel separate and isolated and, unique in a distorted way. And what happens within all our healing processes, if it's healing, it starts to help us see that this is what we all go through. Not the exacts, not everybody, obviously, not everybody's lost a child or been abused but everybody, if you get in
Deals with
touch
some
with it,
shit.
knows what suffering is.
Mhm.
Everybody is suffering. And what happens for us generally, it can take a whole lot for us to really get in touch with that. And when we get in touch with it, it actually starts to connect us with all of humanity, right? It starts to minimize that sense of like, I'm being punished, which is really weird. It's sort of paradoxical. It's not like we're all being punished. It's not like that. It's, oh, we're all here doing this together and it's brutal, you
Yeah, trying
know.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
If we could see ourselves on the moon and trying to
Yeah.
figure it out and all that, it would be simplified down. But because we're on Earth, and to your point, we've been here for a really, really long time, just the species, it seems a little different, like we should have already figured it out. I don't know. So, and some surface things that are going on as we avoid, as we're letting this stuff build up. We're avoiding conflict and trying to be easygoing guy. Don't want to be seem like I'm difficult or hard to get along with, especially if you're looking for a mate. And then this is a big one. Nobody has taught us how to communicate it clearly. We don't talk about it. All we've talked about, to Jason's point, is how to mislead and hide
Uh-huh.
what we think are weaknesses, etc.
Yeah,
Most of us
we
aren't
don't even
bad
know how to ask
communicators.
for what we want. It's like,
Yeah,
we don't even know what we feel to know what we need in any given moment, meaning I can't carry 17 oranges. There's times in life where I have to I have a broken toe right now, right? I can't do shit. I have to ask for help. I have to ask my nephew to come over here. I have to ask people to I don't I can't do it. I know that, right? And I'm in a place in life where the rest of my life with business and everything, I don't want to do any of it alone anymore. I want to do it with people, with other people, build things together that can potentially help other people in some way, form or fashion. Um, and it's a it's a consistent part of our experience, and it's so simple, but it's actually deeply complex to get to this simplicity, to be able to just say what we what we need. Hey, hey, come here. Or I'm overwhelmed. Can you, So it's actually a really difficult thing to communicate. To even know we're overwhelmed is difficult to communicate.
but I think we all can empathize or relate to, or whatever word you want to choose here, with not wanting to. I don't want to do that because it's going to be fill in the fear based thing here. It's going to cause us to break up. It's going to cause us
Yeah.
to fight. It's going to cause me to not be able to go out with the boys this weekend. I'm trying to keep things smooth. I want to go golfing. I want to do my thing. If I do this, then it's going to have to turn into a we thing, this type shit. And uh, we lean on, dad told me to suck it up. Don't cry. Boys don't cry. Boys don't get sad, just tough it out. By all this, and now we're faced with, okay, so I can do something that's uncomfortable, or I can just not say anything and just keep rolling. But you're just going to keep rolling. And then you realize she asked you if you want a cup of coffee and you want to kill her. And you're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck's going on?
Yeah. Right.
She just
Yeah.
asked me if I wanted coffee and now I'm angry.
Yeah.
And so, irritability, short temper, passive aggressive, emotionally distant. I think that's one where people find
Shutting down.
themselves, yeah, you just shut down, and you begin to act differently, and you hadn't told anybody anything.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything. It's not like you
Yeah.
said, don't ask me for coffee anymore. And she just keeps running through your stop sign. You didn't even tell her. You just assumed because you don't ask her if she wants coffee, that she shouldn't ask you, and you shouldn't have to tell her that. And that's stupid. And you shouldn't think that way because it's just going to end
Doesn't
up
it ain't
broke.
it's not skillful, yeah.
Yeah, it's not skillful, and stupid may not be appropriate word, but
Yes,
it
I know
is
what you
like
mean. Yeah, yeah.
it. We
It's not an
and
intelligent move, yeah.
it's not, and it's counterproductive. And if we think we're being, well, I'm just going to let this one slide, just because we got to get this done. I'm at work, and
Yeah, yeah,
Tom
yeah, yeah,
keeps
yeah,
doing the
yeah,
same shit he's always done, but I just let it go because we got to get it done, and Tom's got to be on the fucking team. And eventually you can't stand Tom, and you don't even care if he needs to be on the team. You just
yeah,
rather it not even work.
yeah.
So that's what's going on, and then we look around and say, why am I pissed off all the time? Why do I feel angry? Why can't I just calm down? Relationships start breaking down. Trust is eroding. Communication is getting worse and worse. You feel like nobody understands you. And all the while, this is occurring completely in your head because nobody else is privy to what the hell's going on. And to Jason's earlier point, we're figuring out that we're navigating this whole thing and just trying to figure it out. Again, back to the word perspective, that was so massive of a shift for me because when I realize that you don't see the same thing I see when we're
Yeah.
sitting in the same room, it changes your life. Like I can be empathetic. I don't have to get mad that Jason doesn't see the same thing I see. I just say, "Oh, well, what do you see?" I can I can join in and learn from him, and he can learn from me, and we can understand, instead of in my mind going, "How can this moron not see this picture I'm looking at?" Like it's because one makes you angry, and in that simple analogy, it's not as easy. But when it's you and your spouse who've been married for 10 years and you're sitting in a car and she sees something completely different from you and you're arguing about it, now you can relate with me. Now you understand what I'm talking about. And you're thinking, what is wrong with her? We're both sitting in the same car. Well, she's got however many years old she is of stuff
Yeah.
piled up behind her dam that she probably hasn't worked through either, probably more so than you because she's a female and they more naturally do it. And so you're both seeing the world through a lens, and it ain't the same lens. Even the longer you've been married, the lenses begin to tint in the same direction because you've experienced so many things together. But you gotta talk about it. You gotta say, hey, when you ask me for coffee, it chaps my ass. If you bear it, if you get down to it, it's because my dad poured coffee on me when I was a kid or some shit.
Yeah,
Who
right.
knows what the problem is? But she doesn't know she's going to keep doing it. She thinks she's being kind because whenever she was offered something by her father, it made her feel special.
Felt
So
good.
she's
Yeah.
doing something that she thinks makes you feel special, and you're getting angry about it, and you're going in the opposite directions. So a way to fix this
Yep.
is say it early. Say, just say it early. Address the issues early. Be clear. Be calm. This does not. The idea of doing it early is there's not a bunch of anger behind it. There's not 35
Not a
instances
lot of
of her
momentum,
asking.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no momentum. It's just she asked you for coffee. Hey, look, dad poured coffee on me when I was a kid. I don't even like the fucking word. Please don't ask me. She's probably never gonna bring coffee up again. Like she's like, oh God, that was
Yeah.
awful. I can't believe your dad did. You know what I'm saying? Like
She'll know have more awareness
yes,
around what it is, yeah.
exactly. And she will skillfully navigate. You replace accusations with clarity. I know really what you want to do is pour the coffee on me. Not you don't just want to give it to me. And it doesn't have to be confrontation. Communication can be clarification. So you're really just clarifying why it is. If you just yell, "Stop asking me for fucking coffee," probably not going to get the idea across. She's going to think, God, he's in a bad mood. Uh, but really, what you're wanting to do is let her know that this is a deep seated wound. And so now we want to get to releasing the resentment, to Jason's point, letting some of the water through the dam naturally, not all at once, so that everybody doesn't drown. But we begin by identifying where we're holding this, um, and we ask, "What didn't I say?" And what boundary didn't I set? We got a whole episode on boundaries if you want to talk about boundaries, and then have the conversation or consciously let it go. And that last one, hesitate on, because until you're really good and until you've expressed a whole bunch of them, you don't need to be trying to let go of shit. You need to process it because you're probably like me and you can't let anything
You
go.
think you're
You
letting
want
it go,
to,
but you're actually storing it up. Yeah.
yeah, you're just putting it back in the
Yeah.
drawer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, Jason, could you touch on um, location of feelings? And I don't, I just to your 5 minute
I
sit
got it. I
down
got it. I got
and
it. I got
how
it.
it
I got
feel.
it.
Kind of go through that with us.
It's super simple. So, uh, the I just think of it, just call it in the body. You don't need to Nobody needs to think of it like in my thigh or in my tongue. You can think of it as being in your tummy. That's fine. Just think of it as being in the tummy, right? But where they're happening is now in the present. So the processing of the past at its core involves being able to focus on what's happening in the body when the past presents itself rather than focusing on the situation, circumstances, and players. We keep our attention right in the car, right where we are, right on our tummy, giving attention to ourself. So where it's happening in the body is you could just say the tummy is a way of talking about it. Uh, but but I like to say really where you're wanting to keep your attention is right now, not back then. And that's a process of being able to keep the attention primarily on the body.
And so stopping to
Breathe.
understand, yeah, and get yourself, and maybe this is a good practice before addressing the coffee situation. Find yourself, find where you are, and get back to right here and now.
Yeah.
Locate what the tension that this creates when you hear the word coffee. Find
Yeah.
I know this isn't happening right now, and I've identified it in
Yeah.
previous discussions.
Well, and
And,
like where it's happening, let me say this. So if there's an agitation that's in our field, let's just put it that way. It's happening in every cell of our body because what it's doing is it's suggesting that there's something that is a danger and that we need to alter. There's something in our environment that needs changing, right? And so that affects everything. It affects the nervous system, hormones, organs, everything. It's happening everywhere. But if you learn to just keep your attention on the tummy, that's sufficient.
and it can bring you back in, get
Yeah.
you grounded, allow you to say, "Hey, please stop it with the coffee. Question, don't ask me about
Yeah.
the coffee." And if, depending on the
Yeah.
relationship, you can go into how, why, when, where, what, but you don't have to. You can just
Agitated
say,
energy expresses agitated things. If you calm down the agitation through the body, that opens up more access to prefrontal cortex processing, to more reason, to more light, to more clarity. Eh, Calming down actually is allowing the system to reconnect so there's more clarity.
and you will be more skillful as a
Yeah,
result.
you got it.
Yeah. So resentment isn't caused by other people. It's built on what we are not saying. Every time we stay quiet, when something matters, we're just making a deposit into something that is going to eventually cost us. The goal isn't to never feel frustration. It's to stop letting it sit. Stop putting it in the damn drawer. The drawer is getting full because the conversations we're avoiding are the weight that we're going to carry tomorrow. Resentment is interest on conversations that we didn't have. As always, we want to thank you for giving us your time. It's your most valuable asset. If you've enjoyed this podcast, if you could please like, follow, and share wherever you're watching or listening. Doing so helps us reach more men who could be positively impacted by this material. And you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and TikTok under Guys Dealings with Feelings. Until next time, stay in the fight. The world's a much better place with you in it.